PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. All week long, bet just $1 on any football game and receive $150 in free bets instantly if you use the code PHNX. All right, guys, the Cardinals scored 21, answered to beat the Jags 31-19, so we should all be excited. I still have some mixed feelings. I don't know what to feel right now.
Oh man, it was like going on a third date with somebody you're kind of unsure about, and you're still unsure about after the third day. You're like, well, there's definitely some pluses and minuses, but I don't know how to feel. It
wasn't a complete disaster,
yeah,
but you don't walk away feeling great.
There was definitely some highs, and you're like, oh, this might be all right, and then there was other lows where you're like, oh.
So man. She paid for dinner, but then you ran into her ex-boyfriend.
What?
We're talking about like a date, okay? No, I'm blowing this analogy, man.
This is terrible.
Are you serious?
So yeah,
she offered to pay, so it's going well.
Johnny's married, so lucky for him.
He used the date analogy, so I was trying to roll with that, but that went horribly wrong. But you're right. Here's what I will say. At a conference opponent on the road, the Cardinals are now 2-0 on the road. They covered the spread. Yes, they were not pretty, but this is not college football where you need style points to get into the Final Four. This is all about wins and losses. And when you look back at this team at the end of the year, if they were to win 10, 11 games, we're not going to remember that they screwed around for 3 quarters at Jacksonville. We're going to remember that they won that game. These are the kind of games you have to take care of business on. I don't care how they do it, because next week this was the table setter for the main course, that being the start of divisional play.
It's still a little bit alarming, though, when you're heading into divisional play and you're still seeing things not only that they did in the first 3 weeks. I mean, Tennessee was a little bit of a different scenario there, but even last year, going back to last year, and there's some things like, Kyler Murray. Now, overall, he had a great game, yes, but I am worried. Now, this was against the Jaguars. I'm worried when it gets to divisional play or later on in the season, he still has some maturing to do. Mm-hmm. He's forcing plays and relying on his athleticism, which up until, he got into the NFL, he could thrive and lean on.
Yeah.
But I still think that he has this idea in his head when things aren't going great that he needs to force some big play,
correct,
to try and take control of everything.
No, I totally agree. Well, to an extent, I think there's other things that are leading to Kyler kind of forcing the issue. They couldn't run the ball very effectively today. Again, kind of slow. They only had, I think, 91 yards. Yeah, 91 yards rushing on the day as a team. That's not going to get it done in the NFL. Like, you have to have more production, especially when you have 2 quality backs. And I think from time to time, and we'll get to Cliff Kingsbury in a minute, I feel like sometimes you just get too damn cute.
Yeah.
And you just got to smash somebody right in the mouth and get the job done. Third down was a disaster all over the place today. So it's not all on Kyler. Kyler has a large part to do with it. I agree with the inadvertent throws that lead to interceptions from time to time. But overall, I thought he played a solid game. He didn't really cost his team a chance to win the game. And I just think other players have to step up, and Cliff Kingsbury's got to do a much better job calling plays.
Yeah, because we all talked about this. Cliff has never been afraid to
be aggressive.
To be aggressive. There you go. And the thing is that's great. And when they convert and, when it pays off, that's fantastic. And he gets all the credit and it's exciting. But I feel like it's another situation when it comes to him where it's like, they shouldn't have even been in that situation to begin with.
He's like cautiously aggressive.
Yeah.
And that's what I hate. Like, you're either all in or you're all out. You don't just dip your toe in the hot tub and see if it feels okay to you.
Like he'll go for it on 4th down, but then on 3rd and 16, he'll throw a horizontal screen that inevitably goes nowhere. And that's where he still has to be better as a head coach. What I will say, I feel like I'm like defending the team today against both of you guys. They were out the right tackle, Kelvin Beachum. I think he'll be back. Hopkins was clearly not himself leading up to this game, and that's still their number 1 target offensively, and he didn't do much outside of the first quarter. And I will say, a couple of the early penalties that were posed against this team, the holding call on DJ Humphries, and then I think there was a pick play late that negated a big gain. Those were egregious penalties by the officials that derailed drives. Now, Would the Cardinals have converted points on those drives? I'm not sure. But I do think they were getting in a groove, and then the officials kind of interfered. I'm never one to blame the refs, but it was pretty egregious today. The Cardinals still won the turnover battle. Yes, they had penalties, had more yards. I mean, I wrote an article about this last week. They sleptwalked their way to 30-plus points against Minnesota. They did the same thing today. I mean, we're nitpicking this team. Yeah, they had a pick 6, but that still counts against total points scored. To me, they have not even reached their ceiling, and that's a good place to be. I think where we've seen this team in the past is they had to play perfect to beat teams, especially on the road, and to be able to have 30-plus point games, they had to have everything work. Now they are inconsistent, and yet they are so talented. I mean, we're not even talking about yet A.J. Green, the second coming, over 100 yards, Christian Kirk. You know, Rondale Moore was limited today, and they were still super effective. James Conner now running the football effectively. I just think they got to get it figured out, and that's where Cliff has to be better. But just from a talent perspective, they beat the teams they're supposed to right now, and that was a big question coming into this year.
Well, I think you just made me realize why it's so frustrating, because they do have a ton of talent.
Yeah.
And when I see them, you know, Matt Prater can make a 68-yard field goal.
Right.
But when I see them in that position, in my opinion, they shouldn't have even been in that position. Now they're not ready on defense to make a stop, because there's a good chance it's going to be short.
Yeah.
And then they allow them to score in the opposite direction. I mean, I see stuff like that, or I see Kyler forcing something and gets picked off. That, to me, it's like they shouldn't even be in. They're too talented to be in those positions.
Absolutely. That's the thing that I want to focus on for right now is going 21 seconds on the clock. You have multiple timeouts, and then there's a second. You throw the ball out of bounds, or somebody ran out of bounds, and then you had like a 2nd and 2 or 3. And instead of just throwing the ball and trying to get some more yards, you run the ball for like a 5-yard gain and have to use a timeout. And it took off like 7-8 seconds off the clock. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what the F is that?
Yeah.
That doesn't even make any sense. Like, if you're going to go. And then they get a couple more yards, and then they end up kicking that field goal. And then all momentum was lost after that, you know, and you could see it coming out into the second half. They're lucky the Jags don't have
are the Jags.
Yeah, they're lucky the Jags are the Jags, and they're lucky that Trevor Lawrence is in year number 1.
Yeah,
because if this had been next week, they'd have got their ass kicked today.
Yeah,
that's exactly my point.
Yes, and I agree with that. And I think the unfortunate part for the Cardinals is the people who were doubters of this team will likely remain doubters this week because of that decision, and will only focus on that decision as they go into next week against LA. No one will care about how they rallied against a team that had lost 17, now 18 straight games. Everybody's just going to talk about, did you see what Cliff Kingsbury did before the end of the half? And it was an egregious mistake. I do think that because of how the half ended last week and him making that 62-yarder at home, everybody, we sat here and we're like, yeah, they're going to try the field goal. Yeah. And none of us thought it was crazy. And so had it worked, or he just missed it, we wouldn't be talking about it. But it took an outlier instance for us to continue to harp on it, and thankfully didn't cost them the game.
We were sitting right here before he even kicked it, and I said, what the hell is Cliff doing? Why didn't he get at least another 5 to 10 yards? If he gets another 5 to 10 yards, a high probability Matt Prater makes that, because he had enough distance to get to at least 60.
It was close. No, it was a bad decision. Here's what I will say. Cliff Kingsbury is hopefully able to learn on the fly while racking up these victories to know not to do this kind of thing anymore. That was the most egregious decision of the day, but for the most part, I mean, they were pretty steady offensively. That's the last time I'll stick up for him today. They got the W. Did not hamper them, but he has to be better. I don't think he would try that against LA.
I have 2 more slightly negative points to make.
Oh,
and then we can get into all the great stuff. So
okay.
Also, they preached and preached and preached and preached. We know we have to get off to a better start than we did last week. We have to get off to a better start than we did last week. And they didn't. Okay, so that was like another thing. That
offensively,
was really
not defensively, they were better.
Offensively, sorry. And that didn't happen. And then I will admittedly say another reason why I think I have so much aggression right now, Johnny, is because my in-game parlay.
Oh, no.
This was supposed to make me money off the DraftKings Sportsbook app.
Chierstin, Cliff. Damn you.
So here's what my in-game parlay was. The Cardinals had to lead after every quarter, which didn't happen. They had to win by more than 5 points, and they had to be the first to score 15 points. So that's what I bet. I was really confident, really excited heading into this weekend. It was my first in-game parlay, and it didn't hit. And so, unfortunately, I'm now understanding what it's like to, like lose money on game day.
I lost a lot of money today too.
Yeah, all my bets busted this morning. You know what's bad is when all your bets and you sprinkle them out through like the early slate and the late slate, maybe in a Sunday night game, and you don't even get to those other slates because something in your parlay busted from the 10 a.m. slot. That's the worst feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I lost all of my stuff. Kyler Murray, I thought 3.5 touchdowns was an easy play right there. He'll run for one. He'll throw for a couple, like easy. Nope.
No, didn't even throw for anything.
Not even.
The good thing is, though, if you did use the DraftKings Sportsbook app and placed a same game parlay, then you can be credited up to $25 if your bet loses. So that actually was, but I actually didn't lose money, I guess, but I thought I had an easy money to make.
We all liked your bet before the start of today, and it really was only that second quarter.
All right. As always, just remember with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, always 21 over, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details, which leads me into the DraftKings King of the Game. Some positive news. That was Byron Murphy. 3 tackles on the day, but man, those 2 picks and a pick 6, those were game-changing.
Yeah, Byron Murphy, third-year player out of Washington, of course, was the first pick of the second round the year they took Kyler Murray. Up and down to begin his career with the Arizona Cardinals. Actually played less last year than he did his rookie season. This year, all we heard, training camp, off-season, that he was going to take the next step, be that guy. It's in part that they didn't make a ton of moves at the cornerback position. And sure enough, through 3 games this year, I mean, he may not be an ace number 1 corner, but he's a low-end number 1 corner, and today he played like a high-end one and really changed the dynamic of this game. When that pick 6 happened, you just felt like the air, deflated from Jacksonville Stadium and their fan base, and we really felt like at that point the Cardinals were in complete control. And Byron Murphy, to me, is, you think about moving from the slot to the outside. He reshaped his body. He's much more physical now. His ball skills were not this good at Washington, so he's improved that. Didn't intercept the ball a lot at UWash, so it's exciting to see, especially for a Cardinal defense that doesn't typically force a lot of turnovers.
Yeah. I've really been impressed with the Cardinals early on in their man-to-man coverage.
Yeah.
Zone coverage still needs a little bit of work, but man-to-man, I've been very impressed with their aggressiveness in coverage, and obviously with Marco Wilson in the fold as well, and Robert Alford back, it helps quite a bit. And also, I mean, I know we put him as the king of the game, but we got to give a shout out to Saul High School for keeping the Cardinals in this one, because Christian Kirk did his part and then some to keep the Cardinals in the fold. He did everything but score a touchdown today, but he had a phenomenal game. So those 2 SaberCats really represented.
For everything that we said leading up to the season about how the cornerback spot was a liability, that they needed to make a trade, they needed to bring in whomever from New England or Miami, it's been one of the more steady units on the team. Both Byron and Marco were questionable coming into this game. I thought Marco Wilson played well outside of he got beat one time. He's aggressive. His ball skills are good. Robert Alford should have had an interception. And especially today, the pass rush wasn't there early, and the secondary still held up. Now, I know it's against Trevor Lawrence and a bunch of BNC receivers, but the Cardinals have a lot of things to work on, and it's surprising that corner is not one of them as they sit here 3-0.
Well, if you're giving specific players some credit, I also want to throw Jordan Hicks out there, because he was the reason that Murphy got that first interception.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he ended the game with a sack. So, I guess you could go through, a lot of individual players that did have bright spots throughout the day. But again, Jordan Hicks, I mean, I'm a little biased at this point. I just love the storyline.
Yeah.
I love how he's handled things. So I'm always going to give him credit. But, he was another guy that I was like, okay.
It feels like a lot of guys that we have doubted from a local and national perspective, whether it be Hicks or Robert Alford, are playing well. AJ Green was doubted by everybody in the national meeting when the Cardinals made that signing, and all he's done is gotten better each of the first 3 weeks, and he looked like a huge factor today for them moving forward.
Absolutely. Also, by the way, this is just a random thought because I was looking at the screen. I love your jacket.
Thank
it
you.
looks completely different here than it does on the TV. It looks like you're wearing a Letterman jacket on TV.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. I actually did notice that. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, Saul.
Sorry. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I also look like a little bit of a linebacker too. I'm kidding.
paying your best homage to Jordan Hicks today.
There
with
it
your
is. There it is.
Post-game attire.
All right, before we get into our next segment, I also want to remind you guys of our promo this week in honor of the Cardinals 2-0 start, which is now a 3-0 start. We're giving all members 20% off of Cardinals shirts. So you see them there, a Rise Up Red C shirt. We got the football with the bird on it as well. Great deals going on. If you become a member, you're also going to get access to all of Johnny's articles. You got a post-game article that's
Just retweeting this link live as we do it right now, so I don't get yelled at.
There it is. There it is.
And then our members only Discord. We got people
Come hang
chatting
out with
it
us.
up.
Yeah.
Come hang out with us. And as always as well, if you like those t-shirts, you don't have to be a member to buy them though. PHNXlocker.com.
But it's
where
much
you
more
can find it.
advantageous if you are a member to buy one.
Yeah.
Much more advantageous, for sure.
All right, let's move into our next segment called Show Your Cards. So I'm going to call out a few people or players, things, and I'm going to have you guys hold up your cards, which are your ratings.
Fun. I didn't get to play this last
Man,
week.
geez,
All
Frank,
right.
You didn't even leave these in order.
Why are all my cards just sixes?
Yeah. They're all sixes.
And then there's a Q in here and an
Why
and
did you
sign?
give Saul a 6? How did those not get put away properly?
I got a 6
Everyone
right
can
there.
contribute in the
This is
chat.
If you just flip
too.
the 6
Johnny,
upside
it's
down,
called
it
a
could be a
6 and a
9.
9.
This is the Zodiac symbol. I can't use this. All right.
All right, what do we got? What do we got? What do we got?
All right. First one, and Saul, you already mentioned it. Rate the Saguaro High School alumni's performance.
Oh, that's an easy one right there. Let's make sure I get this right. Yeah, that's a 10, baby. That's a 10.
I did it backwards last
Oh
time.
my
Please, yes, Johnny
gosh.
did the same thing. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. There we
Wow, I
go.
feel so much better.
Chierstin, you jinxed me. God damn it.
I did that twice last week. So
Tens. Tens.
10s. Yeah, I think that was those are the only 2 players that deserve
Two
a 10
players
on
that
the
are due contracts about to get paid. One that I think will remain in Arizona, Byron Murphy, and one who will probably sunset in Christian Kirk here.
Oh
as
my
one-
God,
number
Johnny, you're
1-3.
killing my vibe right now.
I'm
buddy.
sorry,
Why
man.
are you
Go
upset?
get your Christian. Go get your 13, 14 million
Yeah,
from
and
the
stay in
Jets and
Arizona.
win 3 games a year.
They
But be a
don't
rich
got
man.
they don't got to pay Larry Fitzgerald anymore, so
That's
might as
true.
well go ahead and give that money to Christian.
That's true.
all right, Aqib Talib's fit.
Mm,
Oh man,
I'm gonna go 4.
I'm gonna give my man a 5. I'll give him a 5.
And that's no
Okay.
disrespect because I like him calling our games, but
He,
Could have been better.
He had a
Yeah.
little New Jack City / Amish vibe going. that I just
Amish?
didn't
he
understand.
did. He did.
Yeah. Oh,
Ah.
Sean Marks with the 8, huh?
Wow.
I was like,
That's
is
the
that- is
Amish
Aqib
priest
watching our
vibe,
show?
Alright,
but a
alright,
cool
alright.
priest. All right. We've talked about this, but now you got to give it a rating. Cliff's play calling.
I'll let Saul go
I,
first.
I won't be too brutal, but I was not impressed.
Oh no.
I will go with a 2.
Ooh, a 2.
Cliff Bar for me will get a 6. I think that they were bitten by the refs. I'm going to play the ref card at the refs on Twitter. They were bad today.
I just can't let the end of that first half go. I just can't. It's just 21 seconds left. You have got to be better than that. And the play calling on that drive was so horrendous that it ended up leading to 7 points for the other team. Sure, it's a fluke thing that happens once every decade, but it still happened.
Yeah.
And it's all Cliff's fault.
This offense, 3 consecutive games to begin the season, 400 plus yards of total offense. The run game got going today. I mean, James Conner looked very good in the fourth quarter. There are a lot of positive takeaways. I would agree. He can be better, right? They turned the ball over. That's not on Cliff, though. That was on first down. That's a Kyler Murray issue. Pass protection, gave up 1 sack. All things considered, I think it was average, but not as bad as you would make it out to be.
So in the chat, we got a 5. Oh, wrong one. 5. We got a 6, but then maybe a 5.
Maybe if
Maybe
okay.
a
So an average score. It was an average day.
2 since we won, 0 with a loss.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
The number I'm watching is Cliff Kingsbury's win percentage as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, slowly getting closer to 500. 5-10-1 his first year, 8-8 last year. He's now 3-0. At what point does the bias and the narrative change on Cliff Kingsbury if he's able to surpass 500?
It's not
Dude,
bias
go ahead.
if it's like
when
just
people
the
are upset
truth.
on the show.
Oh my gosh.
It's not bias.
I am trying to get a selfie with Cliff at our press conference in 2 weeks, and he's gonna be
Don't
like,
ruin it for.
and he's gonna be like, "Hey Johnny, thanks for sticking up for me, man, on the live stream." And I'm gonna say,
Also,
That
okay.
Saul guy's a real asshole, by the way.
Also, if you want to put a feather in Cliff's cap,
"Yeah."
Cardinals are 3-0 to start the season for the first time since 2015. So there you go.
So Cliff and Bruce Arians are basically the same coach. Is what you're telling me. That's what you're telling me.
But again, it's not about what the end result is when it comes to Cliff Kingsbury, especially against bad teams, because he's fared well for the most part, right?
Yeah.
It's these like brain farts that you're just like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just exactly how it is. Like, what are you thinking in this moment? Like, it's like you were not prepared, and then you just threw some shit at the wall and hoped it stuck. And I don't like it. And I think that's what Cardinals fans have a problem with, is like these end of the game situations or these crucial fourth down situations that it's like, I know you practice these situations, so why does it look like you're uncomfortable in these situations when you do when you put in your play calls? I don't get it. I don't understand it. And it's going to bite them in the ass if they don't clean it up. And it's going to start next week if the Rams come into town and Cliff ain't ready.
Expectations are a mother, and the expectations for this team were 500, slightly better. They're 3-0 America, and we're going to hold them to a higher standard because of it. But that doesn't mean that we can't commend him when he does a good job. That's all I'll say about it.
If he does a good job, I will commend him.
They're almost through a quarter of the season unbeaten. 3-0. Everybody watching this chat, watching this live stream would have taken that to begin the season.
True, absolutely. I think we would have taken 2-1, to be honest.
Oh,
with
hell
you.
yeah, we would have. Yeah.
I asked this question to Frank last week. When did they score or was that they converted on fourth down last week. And I can't remember if they scored off of it or they just scored a few plays later, but it led to a score either way. And I asked Frank, would your opinion, because he was all about Cliff Kingsbury after that game, I said, would your opinion have changed had they not scored and converted on that fourth down play call? And he said no. So let me ask you this. Had Matt Prater made that field goal and made history tonight, and that touchdown never happened, would you feel differently about Cliff?
I would still feel the same way. And the reason why is because and I'm not trying to say that I'm like all glory be to coaching or anything like that, but as a coach, my philosophy is very much like a John Wooden, right? It's not about the end result. It's about the process and what you're doing to get to the end result. So you can play very, very well and still lose, but still be satisfied with how your players played.
Yeah.
And in this instance, I feel like when I watch Cliff Kingsbury, like, yeah, they won by 12 points, but he still has so much room to grow to be an effective coach and get the Cardinals to where they need to be. They are right now, they will be a middle of the road team unless Cliff Kingsbury steps it up another level. They just will be.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part, because I think that in any other division, it would be good enough. It's not good enough in the NFC West, and that's what I'll agree with you on. You've got three coaches who all been to Super Bowls. Of course, Carroll won the Super Bowl. The Cardinals have never beaten Sean McVay. San Francisco's the darlings of the NFL right now on Sunday Night Football tonight. I think that's why Saul and company are so critical of this team, and Cliff Kingsbury in particular.
Huh?
Meyer Company?
Yes.
I guess
And
so. I guess
you are the company you keep. So
it's 2 against 1, apparently.
Because I think that you feel like outside of the division, maybe they go, 4 or 5 games above 500, but in the division they can get exposed, and that's all that matters. Doesn't matter if you're beating Jacksonville on the road, to Saul's point, if you're fourth place in your own division. It just doesn't. So,
okay, that kind of leads into my next question.
Okay.
Rate the halftime adjustments, because they played better in the second half.
Defense for me gets an 8. They had that one poor drive where they gave up that rushing TD, and we thought, oh no, wheels are gonna come off. They're gonna lose this game. But by all accounts, limited them to no more points other than that one touchdown, and really only gave up 13 points the entire game. That 6 points came on that field goal at the end of the half. So I thought the defense and Vance did really well. Offense was fine.
I got a 7. I lump them both together.
Yeah.
I think they both played fairly well. What matters is in the fourth quarter, they took care of business and they shut that team down and it was over. So I'll give them a 7.
We got an 8 and a 7.
We appreciate you guys chiming in.
For sure.
All right. Special teams. It depends on how you want to rate this.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You know what? I'm going to go with the incomplete just because you can't put it on the field goal kicking unit to stop a kickoff return.
Yeah.
Like, dude, have you seen the guys on the kickoff on the field goal kicking unit? Like, that's not their fault. Other than that, everything else was money. So it's hard for me.
And you can't expect Matt Prater to make that. I mean,
Matt Prater almost hunted that dude down, too, from behind.
Well, yeah.
I'll go 6 because Prater otherwise was very good. Didn't miss a kick today. Andy Lee was super effective, was a big-time weapon. Rondell Moore had that long kickoff return. Yeah, it's a footnote. The special teams have been borderline elite this year. I'm not going to knock them too much today.
Yeah, same.
I wouldn't either. Chandler Jones.
It's tough. It's tough to evaluate Chandler Jones right now because without looking at the film, because I'm not watching him on every single down.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'm looking at him. And the occasions that I happen to watch him, he wasn't getting double teamed.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like, hey, what's going on here? Why are you not as effective at getting sacks as you were in week 1? But again, I can't, without watching the film, I don't know how effective he was in other areas. He did have a couple nice run stops. He did recover a fumble. So I'm going to give him I'll give him a 7. I'm going to give him a 7.
I'm going to go 3.
Oh, my goodness.
And the reason I'm going to do that is...
Welcome to the dark side, Johnny.
That's right. I'm pro-Cliff anti-Chandler Jones, apparently. The pass rush was inconsistent, to say the least, through 3 quarters. That's why this game, in my opinion, was much closer than it needed to be. Marcus Golden has a sack each of the past 2 weeks. Chandler Jones does not. J.J. Watt was much better today, although he's sackless through 3 games as an Arizona Cardinal. Chandler Jones, to Saul's point, was one-on-one with Jacksonville's left tackle the majority of the game. His name escapes me. I apologize. And to me, if you want to be paid like a TJ Watt, you cannot have these long gaps. It's the reason the Cardinals didn't pay Hassan Reddick last year. He had 12.5 sacks, but he had, 5 sacks in 1 game against the New York Giants. The Cardinals need to see consistency from Chandler from start to finish, and he's been essentially MIA from a pass rush standpoint each of the past 2 weeks. So
was week 1 a fluke?
No, because given his track record, no. I would say maybe the total was, but he's capable of having a 3-sack game. But to not even his pressures today were fine. They weren't great.
Yeah.
And so you feel like even if he weren't to get home, flushing Trevor out of the pocket, making him uncomfortable, I didn't really feel that until late in the game.
No, not at all. And that was when they were blitzing too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Chierstin, do you feel like it's a fluke?
A little bit.
God,
I mean, I don't
spot.
not have faith in Chandler Jones, but I think we were all calling for a record-breaking season from him, and in that perspective, maybe he's a great pass rusher and a great player. So I'm not knocking him, but I think what we saw week 1, everybody just went wild with the expectations with him.
So I'm going to give you a stat. I think this is right. You'll have to double check me, America, but last season, he played 5 games. He had 1 sack. It was in the opener against San Francisco. So 1 sack in 5 games. This year, he's got sacks in 1 game. So in 6 of his last 8 games, he's sackless as an Arizona Cardinal. That's something. Not as consistent as he once was, unfortunately.
People in the chat are shook at your take, but but also kind of agree.
It's a salary cap league, man. He wants TJ Watt money, and he's 3 or 4 years older. We've got to see more consistency from Chandler.
And then I just want to pose the question: is this the most uncomfortable 3-0 start ever?
No. The most uncomfortable 3-0 start ever was when the Cardinals started 4-0 with Kevin Cobb at quarterback, and then everything fell apart.
2012.
Oh,
yeah.
man. Because they had just beat New England on the road, but it was like a 10-7 game. It was a brutal game.
Then they went to the Rams, and then Kevin Cobb was sacked 8 times.
Yeah, he basically his soul left his body that night.
And then they think they won 1 game.
And Kevin Cobb hadn't been the same since.
No, he's been
MIA.
MIA.
Wakes up and was like, looking out for the Rams defense.
I'm also not as much as like I'm a little frustrated from what we saw today and what we saw really in the last 2 weeks. I'm not like it's weird because I'm also not like super uncomfortable because I know that they do have the like I don't think they're escaping and they're getting lucky, and they also just don't have the talent, so they're getting lucky because of whatever reasons. Like the talent exists, and so I still feel
Right.
like there's plenty of room for improvement, and they're plenty capable of making those improvements. So if they didn't have the talent that they had, I would say like they're gonna it's only a matter of time before this season goes south. But
And they're knock on wood, they're relatively healthy too. I mean, like everybody's ready, and they're going to get Kelvin Beachum back. No one left the game today. Dennis Gardeck might be back next week as well. So they don't have excuses. Their excuses are head coach, and it's put up or shut up time for Cliff.
I am a little not. I would like to see DeAndre Hopkins be 100%, and with the rib injury, that could be something that you're continuously re-aggravating, and we might not see like 100% DeAndre Hopkins for a little while. So that is one thing that's slightly concerning.
Do you think they should have held him today then?
No. I think, the rib injury is one thing, right? Like, I think you're going to be okay, but you better hope you're okay for next week with Jalen Ramsey across from you. Because he will swing and hit your ribs every time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what helps though with the ascension of AJ Green, Christian Kirk, and Rondale Moore. Is last year when it was Hopkins versus Ramsey, and Ramsey's best corner in the game, they didn't have another option to go to, and now they do. And I think that even if you're using Hopkins as a what do you say?
Use your own words against you
right now. What are you
gonna say? I'm going right back to Cliff. Where was Rondale today?
He had that nice little jet sweep on the goal line. Almost got in for a touchdown.
Hell out of here right now.
He's a rookie. Let's give him,
No, but that's Cliff's job is to get him the more touches.
Right. He didn't have nearly. I mean, I'm sure if we looked at the targets, they were low. They were like low single digits, I'm sure.
All right, last one. We talked about the good. We talked about the bad. Kyler Murray.
7.
Shit.
7's easy. I just think that Kyler, he managed the game. He managed the game very well.
Yeah, 6.
He relied on his teammates to come through,
pick him up,
and there were some instances where they didn't, and he was effective on the ground in key areas. And I think he did everything he needed to do as the leader of this team on the offensive side.
Yeah, he led 3 scoring drives. I think 3 scoring drives with the 2 James Conner touchdowns and then his own rushing touchdown, and then another field goal drive after that. They were effective. I mean, they moved the ball at will. It's not like they can't pick up first downs. They are their own worst enemy at times, and I think we saw it again today, what we saw in the second half against Minnesota. He is just so hungry and thirsty for the big play that he forces it, and that's what happened on that interception. That was 1st and 10 at like their Jacksonville's 45-yard line to begin the second half. They have to rein him in because he's excellent, especially when he wants to be at taking what the defense is giving him. But then you have those outlier plays where he forces it and it's a turnover and it keeps games close. So I think you used the best word. It was a game management game from Kyler. He didn't have to put their team on his back because it's Jacksonville. But when you do play the LAs and the San Franciscos of the world, they need him to be all worldly. So today it's an outlier game.
You had talked about in the tailgate that you thought the game plan was going to be conservative and they were going to run the ball a lot. Mm-hmm. And you kind of felt that in this game. They didn't. I was sitting there screaming like they only took 2 deep shots the entire game past 40 yards. Mm-hmm. One was a pick, and then the other one was a completion to AJ Green.
The jump ball. Yep.
Yeah. So I want to see more of that, but I don't know how much of that was actually in the game plan. But that's the other thing is like you have to be able to stretch the field to provide a little bit more running room for your running backs and even for Kyler Murray. But the Jags were pretty much stacked up in that box within the first 15 yards the entire game because they weren't getting stretched out. And maybe DeAndre Hopkins was too hurt to really stretch the field out, or they didn't include Rondale Moore on some go routes or anything like that. And so I hope we see that a little bit more as we move forward, especially when they play with better defenses.
So you wanted to see the Cardinals get back to the run game. They ran the ball 30 times, which I feel like has to be through 3 weeks the most they've ran the ball.
Season high, yeah.
And for 91 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. So they finally scored a rushing touchdown for the first time outside of Kyler Murray with James Conner's 2 rushing touchdowns. So
last week against Minnesota, Chase nor James had double-digit carries. They were both like 5 or 6 carries apiece. That's not good enough.
No.
They can win games the air raid way, the way that we all love it, right? The Sports Center plays, the big chunk ways in the passing game. But then as the season progresses and you want to keep Kyler Murray upright and you have to play games maybe in cold weather, November and December, they need something to lean on. And especially James Conner, like the physical presence he brings. Chase can break tackles, excellent receiver out of the backfield. They just need to maximize different ways to beat you, and I thought they did that today.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a roller coaster ride experience watching this game. It was a roller coaster ride experience for me, watching my bet slip away. If you want to be like me, you can use the code PHNX. It's signed up for the DraftKings Sportsbook
You were
app.
close, though.
So close.
You were close.
So close. I was close on that safety, though.
You were?
Damn.
No, you weren't.
I wasn't even close. $10, I would have won 610.
Oh.
If the Cardinals were to get a safety to start the game, that was this plus 6,000. It's a silly bet.
It's fine.
But hey,
It's a couple lattes.
if you hit it, you're running down the hallway.
That's
screaming.
right. That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, use the code PHNX to sign up for the DraftKings Sportsbook app. At just $1 on any football game, you'll get $150 in free bets instantly. Let's move on to our last segment of the day. It's one that Johnny came up with.
Hey,
you want to introduce it?
Yeah, we're going to do yesterday's headlines today from you, Arizona Cardinal fans, on the twitter.com. I posed a question to Arizona Cardinal fans on Twitter yesterday. What would be the headline following today's game? Here are some of our favorites. Leah.
Oh my goodness, I can't see.
You got to read it out loud.
Urban Meyer resigns midway through first quarter of Cardinals' historic win.
Yeah, it was far.
That would have
from-
been great if that happened.
Yeah. Urban looked a little dejected after that pick 6. I think that's when his will broke. But I do think they have done some good things. Trevor
Who?
is the
Oh,
Jacksonville.
Jags.
Trevor is the real deal. I mean, that touchdown throw he threw in the back of the end zone. I see a lot of like early Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck where he's throwing a lot of picks, but then he'll make some spectacular throws.
So he's no Tim Tebow, is what you're saying.
No, he's not. But I do think Urban is slowly starting to eye that job out west in Southern California.
Oh.
Yeah, I do think that it's calling his name.
God, Urban Meyer, go away. Seriously.
I just don't know. I mean, I guess at this point you can do anything because I also didn't think he would come out of retirement and take this job. But
Well, he had health issues.
He's probably got some
somehow
right now.
miraculously recovered from.
yeah. I believe he did have health issues. I really do. But
Guys,
I
I'm
think
fine now.
I
I'm totally
believe
better.
I think he's just addicted to the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I legitimately think he wants to be able to like live a normal life and like put his health first and like whatever. I just don't think he's capable of it.
Yeah, I just think that the stress load is too much, and so there's a meter there, and then it peters out, and then he's got to call it quits, and then he goes somewhere else, and then he starts all over again, and then that's what he does.
The problem is when you take over a program a la Ohio State and Florida to a lesser extent, you have, even though the coach just was fired, 4 or 5-star recruits in-house that Urban can maximize. And outside of a couple guys, including Lawrence, this Jacksonville team is just deprived of talent. They need 1 to 2 off seasons minimum to rebuild through the draft and free agency to get better. They just don't have the players. And they outplayed the Cardinals for large stretches today. It didn't matter because the Cardinals had significantly better players. And that was always going to be my biggest question for Urban is it's hard to coach guys up at the NFL level because the other team is always ready to go and prepared, and they're getting their paycheck too. So he can't, overcome the lack of talent at the NFL level, at least not yet.
He also can't just like bail after a year.
I don't want to say
not
he's going to do
Sure.
that either, but
You never know.
All right, next headline.
Kyler Murray woke up and chose violence.
Wait, what does that even mean?
That means he wanted to just completely massacre the Jaguars or Jaguars. Is it Jaguars or Jaguars?
I don't think
Jaguars?
either one of those is
Jaguars?
right.
How do you
Why
say
don't you
it?
say
Jaguars.
Jags? Jaguars.
It's like how I say mustache. I can't say.
Whoa,
I say
what?
mustache.
It's mustache.
I can't say.
How
it
about
like
you
that.
just say stash?
Stash. My dirty stash.
Yeah, I like that headline. That's good. Unfortunately, Kyler Murray didn't really do anything that was like, oh my God, today. So which he usually does once a game.
Mhm.
Today was just it was a basic Kyler Murray performance.
He chose just to manage the game.
Yeah, he
That's what
chose to wake
chose.
up today and
Mhm.
do his job.
Wake up and get a W.
Yep.
Cardinals sin. Nice play on words. Turnovers, penalties, played cards, and lost to one of NFL's worst teams.
Man, it was looking like that for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was definitely looking like that for a little bit, man. I was a little scared.
We were ready to come up with like a new segment just for venting.
Oh,
When
they have a segment on the Sun show where they basically say that I'm salty.
Salty
And,
Saul?
Yeah, it's salty, and I definitely would have been salty.
Did you ever start calling Espo Karen by chance? I know we're off topic here. Did that ever pick up steam?
No, but he has vacation this week, and I will be creating some graphics
Nice.
now.
I
Smart.
also came. You're gonna hate it, but I feel like it's worth a segment.
Oh
I
my
feel
God.
like
If you say Better Call Saul, I swear I'm going to
yes,
jump
so
out
I
this
feel-
fucking window.
Saul. I feel
We're gonna
like
get her back
if
here in
we
a
need-
second, don't worry.
If me, Frank, and Johnny all like agree on something, I feel like we need to have. Let's call Saul, and Saul, you can be the one to, or like if we're, I guess
like
we
it.
wouldn't ever be even.
Okay, I like it.
Okay,
It makes sense.
let's call
All right,
Saul.
I like it. I
and
like
you,
it.
yes.
I like it. I will watch every show and make sure I'm waiting by my phone just in case I have to break a
No,
tie.
it's even better if you're like at a bar, like at the grocery store, and
Like,
like,
hello? Oh yeah, I'm just
hey,
picking up
what's
some
your
pork chops.
opinion on this?
So that was our new segment. We're gonna be doing that every Saturday for Sunday. We also have something to bring up that was a little bit disturbing yesterday.
Oh my God.
So you know where I'm going with this.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so
Just-
we're just gonna pose this to
I
America.
wanna
If you
throw
will
up
put the
when I saw
graphic
this
on the
the first
screen,
time.
it is incredibly disturbing. The image you're about to see.
yes.
So here's Chierstin.
I was all concerned.
Good hell.
I was so
What is this
concerned.
take by my co-host
It
Applebee's?
says, I feel like this is a real hot take, but ... I take Applebee's boneless wings over any other wings every day and twice on Sunday.
Explain yourself.
Oh my! Chierstin woke up and chose violence.
That's right.
Here's the thing. I don't particularly care for the process of eating bone-in wings. I don't like chicken stuck in my teeth. I don't like having to pry chicken out of bones. So I like boneless.
Applebee's at the height of COVID
So there-
tried to get us
The
to
way
come
you
back.
just described that like you were actually like plucking feathers at the table or
It
something.
feels like it. Okay, so I like boneless, and there aren't a lot of great boneless options out there. It's hard to make a good boneless wing, and Applebee's sauce is really good, and they make it good. They probably
Which
freeze
sauce?
their barbecue and their buffalo. It's fantastic.
Those
had
are,
'em
you know what
last
that
night.
reminds me of? There's like TGIF, like microwavable
Yes,
packs that you get.
that's
at the
exactly
store.
what it is.
Listen,
I've had them.
everybody-
Banquet wings. That's what it
Everybody
is.
does it the same way. You take a piece of chicken, you fry it a million times, you insert some fat into it, like however, it's all the same thing. It all comes down to sauce, or like sometimes you'll get boneless wings that are like, if they're not like crispy enough, or there's not enough chicken, or like whatever the case is. And like Applebee's has it down
So
Oh.
to the T.
during
Chierstin, who hurt you?
They're great. You know, there were some
Who
people that
hurt you?
actually agreed
Tell,
with me.
tell
on
me.
it.
Tell
during
me
the
who hurt you.
pandemic, when they were running those commercials about like "Welcome Back, America," I wondered who they were talking to. They were talking to you. Come back, Chierstin, eat our boneless wings.
Okay. Also, let me just tell you like one more thing. So I grew up in like a small town in Ohio,
Yeah.
and so after like Friday football games,
Was it Applebee, Ohio?
is that a
I'm
thing?
just
Oh,
kidding.
okay. After like high school football games on Friday nights, when you're like 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, everybody would go to Applebee's, and like we would all like pitch in
There
for
it
Applebee's.
is.
So
There it is.
my
Yeah.
taste
Nostalgic.
buds developed.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's fair.
At that
That's,
point.
I don't get
Nostalgia.
that from that tweet.
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah.
There's a bit of nostalgia incorporated into that thought and that memory, which makes the food a little bit better for you. I
Well,
totally
and
get it.
My
Yeah.
taste buds just enjoy it because trust me, I've tried. Do you think it's cool to want an Applebee's? It's not.
No, it's
You get
definitely not.
picked on like I got ambushed.
In all fairness, I used to be just a straight up traditional wings guy, and when I cook, it is just straight up traditional wings, all flats, by the way, not that bullshit drumstick crap. But
like
when I go, I like, but you don't like picking the
It's
meat
got
off
like
the
yeah,
bone.
because you can eat it off the top. You don't have to get into the bone.
Oh, well, let me teach you how to eat a flat then. You just
Like
push it
you
down and
push it
just
down.
eat it
I
like a
know,
lollipop.
I
There it
know.
goes. Anyway, but the boneless option, and I know it's going to disgust a lot of people, but B-dubs. I like Buffalo Wild Wings. I think Caribbean jerk is the game changer with some blue cheese. It's over.
The other night, driving back from the studio to Maricopa, I got a sandwich from a gas station, and that's what I would compare this take to. I drove down the street.
Johnny, have you had them?
You had them? Not lately.
Oh, if you haven't had them, you can't say it.
I drove down to the Circle K down the street, and I got a sandwich, a prepackaged turkey and cheese from the gas station. Ate that on my way home.
Now, one of us, that is being a loser. The other one, you should never eat that ever.
It was prepackaged. It wasn't made by the gas station people, though. They assured me it was mass produced, so it just happened to be at a gas station.
Which is even worse, probably.
I would never eat that ever.
Have you been to? Wait. Hold on. Before we just ruin this take, have you been to QT?
I've been to QT.
Have you ordered food from QT?
No, I will never. I will never.
If you eat Applebee's, I promise you.
No, I just eat boneless wings. I don't eat Applebee's. I just eat Applebee's boneless wings.
Do you get it with fries?
No.
Just straight up wings? And
did you have it yesterday, and that's why you tweeted that?
Correct. Yeah,
gotcha.
I did. I ordered pizza from one place and wings from another place, like a fatty, and had them both delivered.
We love you, Chierstin. We're just giving you a hard time.
I love there's just the truth just comes out. Like, oh yeah, I was just sitting on there like the end of Dodgeball, and it's like la, 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 la.
And I also had the best pizza I've ever had in my life yesterday.
From?
Flyby.
Papa John's.
Detroit style. It was spicy pineapple, so it had jalapeno pineapple, which is a hot take. And bacon.
I like pineapple
and
pizza
bacon.
too. Yeah.
I don't mind pineapple.
So good. Ooh, all right, there you go.
Hey, should we call Frank?
All right. I think we've said.
You thought the show was over. It was not over.
No. We were waiting on this all day.
I was ambushed and also very concerned. I was like, oh my, what happened?
That got put together at about 8:15 this morning.
All right, guys, if you have not subscribed to us yet on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, be sure to do that. And then also follow us on social media at PHNX_sports, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and we'll see you tomorrow.